So you don't have time to consume an entire podcast. That's okay. Enjoy the highlights on TRS Clips. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon. You know, when we do these meet and greets all over the country, we get a lot of questions about how do you kind of keep yourself focused and on the grind while you're a teenager. Now, the question I'm going to pose to you might seem a little rude and explicit, but that's not the literal way in which I wish to ask it. Now, while you're building all these businesses, you didn't feel horny? Like,
see, of course you would feel horny as a teenager and you have your urges, right? I would split the teenage into 3 parts.
Okay.
Between my 13 to 15, 16, until when I was still at school. So the school I went to, girls and boys wouldn't talk to each other. So no matter how horny you are kept aside and apart, right? And secondly, the family I was born and brought up is okay. If you are talking to a girl at this age, we abandon you.
Abandon?
Yeah. So nobody would respect you, and you're gonna get it big time back at home once they come to know. So there is always this fear factor that restricts you to go out and talk to a girl and then make friends and then take it forward, right? So now things have changed. Kids do have smartphones and they can do things without the knowledge of parents. Back then it used to be like landline, and my dad worked for BSNL. He could listen to all the calls that I make to anybody, any which ways. So it was difficult.
But how did you not get distracted by it? Like, here you're building a business, speaking to 25-year-olds. And I am sure you were also hot property amongst girls at that age, dude.
Most people didn't know, right? What I was doing.
Okay.
So they wouldn't know. And at that time, they were like, see, if I didn't know what entrepreneurship was, obviously they didn't know. And it's not in any degradatory sense or anything like that. They were doing their own thing. And for them, scoring the top marks and then getting to an institute was everything academically. And otherwise, listening to the parents, it was like a average school where most middle class children came. Right? It was not a hi-fi school where rich kids were sent to. So that kept me a little bit off the distractions. And secondly, I should admit and say, my computer and my laptop was in the living room in the house that I was born and brought up, and you could see my computer and my laptop and also the TV from the street. People would be walking outside my house in the street. They could see my computer, my laptop, and the television screen that's running. You couldn't do anything.
But not at 3 a.m. I'm kidding.
At 3 a.m., my mom is sleeping in the living room.
Okay, fine, fair.
So it was not as comfortable as kids do have the smartphones where you have unlimited internet connection. So we had 400 MB of data for a whole month. Okay, and I had to use it wisely. And I was this person where when I look at my work and when I look at my screen, I'll be doing my work in an orgasmic way, by the way. In the sense.
Oh my God, digital marketing. I love digital marketing. Go on.
So immersed and involved. Even if my mom shouts, Vishnu, have your dinner, I wouldn't hear anything. So you have these teenagers playing PlayStation games where they wouldn't hear a word or a thing that happens outside. My dad would be watching something in the television. My sister would be reading something out loud. That's how she's used to learning. And my mom would be cooking some food. In the street, some action will be happening, vehicles honking. I'll not hear anything. I'll be like completely noise cancelled. Image cancelled, only focus on the screen. So I built that kind of attentiveness. And when you're super attentive and immersed, you naturally enjoy something. When we were having a conversation, we were like, you had dogs and that would make you super lively, and now plants are a replacement for you, right? So being super immersed in the present moment, in what you do at that point in time, and being always in the present means you're always blissful. If I am talking to you, I am in this present moment and not thinking about the past or the future or what audience who are listening to this podcast will be thinking or what my mom and dad will be thinking when I answer this. Then it will be a screwed being inside. Maybe I could provide all of these answers, but within I'm nervous, within I'm angry, within I'm anxious, and I'm always computing and comparing. So generally I don't, right? And why is it that dogs are, people love dogs so much? You are in the present moment when dogs are around. And you are free from the past and the future. If you're free from the past and the future, where there is worry, where there is fear. I was super immersed at the work, so I enjoyed it quite a bit. And no access to opportunity to get distracted. No royalty of, going around, having secret spots, having a large enough house where I had my own bedroom. So I would sleep in the floor along with my mom in the same living room. And we had 2 bedrooms where in one my grandparents were hanging around and in another my mom and dad or my sister would be. So I would sleep in the living room working until 1-2 a.m. and then just fall asleep there.
Girls never crossed your head?
Of course they cross my head. But then they just come here and go like this. That's it.
You're like, oh, hot girl, okay, back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
but as a teenager, it used to be, oh, hot girl, I love you. I want to think of you. At least for me, it was like that. Like, I remember I used to have a crush on Rachel from Friends. You've seen Friends?
The series,
so
the American series.
She was my first woman, I think, that I felt something for, if you know what I mean. And if you know what I mean.
Of course, I know what you mean.
God, dude. And there are some episodes where she looked so hot, basically, that I remember just almost just being lost in that thought. I was thinking about her so much. And I was lying down on my bed and just screaming because I hadn't discovered certain joys of life back then. I didn't know what to do with that. This is when I was 12 years old. Okay. And there you are, Mr. Vishnu, thinking of how to multiply revenues at the same
and
time
then
period.
It happened to be at a point where I couldn't afford to get distracted. So when I was at the US is the place I was truly independent. No mom, no dad, no relatives, no restriction, good smartphone, Western life.
Which is why I have to ask you about Las Vegas. We stopped it right at Vegas.
Exactly.
What happened in Vegas?
We saw everything that people see in Las Vegas. Okay. But I had that self-restraint not to get distracted and deviated because I had already built up on something and my aspirations were too deeply ingrained in me that my ambitions, my aim, and what I had to and wanted to accomplish always came at first.
And you were 16?
18.
Okay.
I mean,
still,
I was
dude, that's too young, man.
And then the guy who happened to meet me also was very kind and he understood me. And then we started going to Starbucks to have conversations. And always we would think, okay, let's get a sheet of paper or our laptop to go have the conversation, but we would forget it. We'd get that. I vividly remember the conversations I've had with Fatih. He was the founder of the company. We'd go to Starbucks, we'd get the brown tissue paper and then ask a pen from the guy who's serving in the counter and then start writing. And we'll get 15 tissue papers, write all the ideas. And we've done that probably 20 or 30 times back and forth, which led to many projects that we have executed. And then I moved to the US. I spent 2 years. We moved from Columbus, Ohio to San Francisco. I convinced him that we have to be in the Bay Area to be fancy. And then we moved to the Bay Area. We both really loved it.